Texas, everybody. We're on Highway 6.
Continue straight to stay on US 190 West. Continue straight. 190.
This means that Donald Trump will be the 45th president of the United States.
This is your life now. This is our election now. This is us. This is our country.
Continue straight to stay on US 190 West.
Hi, and welcome back to the 45th. Rabia here, and I'm here this week with my colleague and co-host Susan Simpson. Hey, Susan, how are you doing?
Hey, Rabia. I am doing fantastic. Did you catch the game on Sunday by any chance?
You know what? I caught the important parts of it. I did not watch the whole thing, but yay, Team USA.
Yeah, and even bigger news, there was a poll done showing 2020 matchups and how Trump would do against potential opponents. And it turns out that if Megan Rapinoe's on the ballot, she wins 42-41.
I love it. Oh, I hope he saw that poll. I hope he saw that poll. I saw the clip of her being asked again if she would go to the White House, and she was like, I'm not going to the fucking White House.
Well, Trump did invite them on Twitter, but he seems to have rescinded that anyway.
He kind of forgot about it. Now he's like, we're thinking about it. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he had done that a couple weeks ago. He's like, well, whether they win or lose, I'm going to invite them. And now he's like, well, we're considering it, but haven't made a decision. So
yeah, it's never going to happen.
They don't want to go.
It's not going to happen. If it happens, they won't go. So that's the end of that. But yeah, it was fantastic. Also, because I'm not a sports person. It's not a matter of not being like into women's sports or men's sports. I just don't watch a lot of sports. So I just recently became aware of the lawsuit and the pay disparities and all that stuff, and that sucks. So hopefully that gets handled in the right way. So yeah, that was great, and that was especially great coming after a really awful 4th of July, which didn't make me feel great about being an American. I don't know what you did on the 4th.
I sat inside and did not walk down the street to Trump's 4th of July thing.
Well, but did you know what? I will say this though. A friend of mine told me she went to the waterfront to catch a fireworks. She said they were some of the most impressive fireworks she's seen in DC on the 4th of July. So I guess he got some great donations lined up for the fireworks show. So good on that.
Yeah. Well, apparently those. I guess it's not going to be anything because that's how things roll now. But the fact that there were 2 firework companies that donated like almost $1 million for the fireworks is problematic, given that they're also lobbying for tariffs on Chinese fireworks to be dropped, and they were. I feel like that should be raising some ethical concerns, to say the very least, but I've not heard any more about it since then.
Right, because it's got to get in line behind the 8,000 other ethical concerns we have around this administration. But it was, Trump got his. You're absolutely right. I think what happened was the Pentagon was like, you know what, we got to shut this guy up about this military parade. Give him what he wants for this, and hopefully it'll satisfy his desperate need for validation as the commander-in-chief of this military.
And it also used taxpayer dollars to do a massive campaign video for Trump, complete with fireworks and fancy planes.
Right, all the flyovers.
Lincoln Memorial, yeah.
The speech was pretty much just, for those of you who deliberately missed it. I'm guessing, Susan, you didn't watch it, but I don't know.
I did watch it, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah, it was just, he kind of went through one by one the different branches of the military and their histories, and one very notable part was when he talked about, how we saved the airport from the British. So
how we rammed the man parts and stormed the airport.
Were they man parts or ram parts? I don't even know.
Well, the speech itself was totally appropriate. Somewhat surprisingly, it was the tone of it was, presidentially appropriate for the situation. It was not a good speech. It was not well delivered, but those separate criticisms. The big fear was that he'd make a political rally out of it. And instead, he just got a pretty backdrop for his campaign.
Yeah, he did. It is true that he didn't politicize anything, which must have been so difficult. But that's because he was on the teleprompter the entire time. I just want to play that one clip for our listeners in case they missed it.
The Continental Army suffered a bitter winter of Valley Forge, found glory across the waters of the Delaware, and seized victory from Cornwallis of Yorktown. Our army manned the air. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do. And at Fort McHenry, under the rocket's red glare, it had nothing but victory. And when dawn came, their star-spangled banner waved defiant.
Yeah, so that was kind of confusing to folks. He later, when he was asked about it, he said, well, there was rain on the teleprompter. I don't know what that means. I mean, I guess he's made up the airport's part, but, you know, that made it Trump, right? Like, he had to do something like that just to own that otherwise fairly decently written speech. Although, I mean, like, it was all just a bunch of soaring rhetoric and bullshit.
It was all a bunch of Wikipedia facts about the various military branches.
Exactly. And then somebody went and changed the Wikipedia page to include the airport part on it. Anyway, I also wanted to check in and make sure you're doing okay, because there was some crazy ass flooding in DC last couple of days.
There was. It was nuts.
I was out of town and I was watching like video. I was like, what is happening? I was like, God, I hope. I mean, I'm not far from DC. I'm like 6 miles out of DC, and we have kind of low-lying land where we are. So I was worried, but it didn't get to you, did it?
I had some tomato plants get squashed. I think they might recover. I'm hopeful. And then I had some planters like overfill with water and put dirt everywhere. But aside from those tragedies, I think we'll recover. Rest in peace, lost tomatoes.
I think your tomatoes will recover. Those are pretty hardy. They're the one vegetables that I can't
tomatoes that
kill.
got smashed are not going to, but you know, I didn't go buy something from the grocery store instead.
Well, the White House basement did flood. There was flooding outside the EPA, Constitution Avenue, in the suburbs, Maryland suburbs. I don't know about Virginia suburbs, but there was definitely a lot of flooding in the Potomac area. It was kind of shocking, and apparently, you know, this happened a couple of hours before Trump gave his big environment speech, which, by the way, I'm not even sure what prompted that. Was there a reason he was giving that speech?
Yes, he's rolling back environmental protections.
Okay. So he gave a 45-minute speech, and, you know, in the audience, he had basically people from think tanks who oppose the science on climate change. He had, like, I think governors and legislators from states with lots of, coal and oil type of states, and then he had energy folks. And here's a few of the things that he talked about. He started off by attacking the Green New Deal. You know, he basically was like, you know, this is going to cost us $100 trillion and do nothing, when the truth is that, like, there's actually no real plan for it. The Green New Deal is this kind of it's like a resolution with some broad goals. He was touting that the U.S. is like #1 in access to clean drinking water, and he talked about air quality. On the waterfront, well, we have pretty good water. We're tied with like 9 other nations. On the air front, not so much. We actually have worse ozone ratings than the global average, in fact. He talked a little bit about carbon emissions, that they declined more than any other country on Earth. It is kind of true. However, just because we have declined, we actually still produce like basically more carbon emissions than every country in the world except for one, and that's China. So that's not good. And then there was a forest fire thing. You know, he almost didn't have to talk about it, but he loves talking about this stuff. And you know,
he had to talk about it. He had to.
He had to.
He could not.
Did he have
He could not get through that without touting his experience.